Swami Vidyanand says in Panchadashi 754, Aparokshhatva yogyasya no paroksh mati brahma paroksham iti anulekhadarthat paroksh sambhavat. Indirect knowledge of Brahman, that is an object of direct knowledge, is not necessarily false, for it is not true that Brahman is an object of indirect knowledge only. Indirect knowledge does not say, this is Brahman, which is direct knowledge. Direct knowledge of Brahman is, this self is Brahman. Indirect knowledge of Brahman is, there is Brahman. This indirect knowledge establishes the possibility of Brahman. Brahman is a hypothetical entity, but for whose existence certain incongruities in our explanation of the world would not be solved. This does not make Brahman an object of discursive knowledge, which would have contradicted the Sruti statement that it is beyond speech and mind. When one says there is Brahman, there in this sentence is introductory. It does not mean out there. So, it does not contradict the self is Brahman. From the mere statement, there is Brahman, we in fact are not entitled to call it direct or indirect knowledge. Still, because it does not give us a positive idea of Brahman being the self, which is direct cognition, we call it indirect. Hence, there is no contradiction between this kind of indirect knowledge and the direct experience of self as Brahman. It does not say that direct knowledge is impossible. Verse 55 says, Ans or Gehter Bhantis, Chet Ghat Gyanam Brahmo Bhave, Niransasyapi Sansatvam, Vyavartans Viveta. The argument that indirect knowledge is false because it does not give a full knowledge of Brahman does not hold good. We may know only a part of the pot, but this partial knowledge is not false on that account. Though Brahman has no real parts, it appears to have parts due to false superimposed adjuncts, which indirect knowledge removes. A man sees a pot, but does not know all its parts. However, this incomplete seeing is not unreal. Brahman is partless, but it is seen under Maya to be with parts, which are proved to be false by knowledge. Verse 756-57 says, और सत्वांशो निवर्तित परोक्ष ज्ञान तस्तथा अभानांश निवृत्ति स्यात् परोक्ष ध्याकृता. Indirect knowledge removes our doubt that Brahman may not exist. Direct knowledge reverts our posture that it is not manifest or experienced. Dasmo asti iti vibhrantam paroksh jnanam ikshte brahm asti iti api tadvat syat agyan avarnam samam. The statement that 10th man exists is not false. It is indirect knowledge. Similarly, the indirect knowledge Brahman exists is not false. In both cases, the obscuring of truth by ignorance is the same. When a wise person says that 10th person is not drawn, he is believed in. Thus, indirect knowledge with logic and analysis produces proper result. It is a way to direct knowledge. Verse 758-59 says, Atma Brahmeti Vakyarthe Nisheshan Vicharte Vyaktir Ullikhite Yadva Dasmastvam Asi Itiyata. With proper inquiry into the statement, the self is Brahman, direct knowledge is realized. Just as with the statement, you are the 10th. From scriptural texts come indirect knowledge, and from reflection on Mahavakya arises direct knowledge. Reflection is only a help. Mahavakya is the direct cause of illumination. Dasma ka iti prasne tvam ev iti nirakrite ganyitva swen sah swamev dasmam asmaret. When he asked, where is the 10th, and told, you are the 10th, then having counted along with himself, he recognizes himself as the 10th. Verse 760-61 says, Dasmo asmi iti vakyetha no dhirasya vihanyate adi madhya avsanesu no navattu asya sansaya. His knowledge that he is the 10th is never negated, whether he comes to himself at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of his counting. His knowledge that he is the 10th is never in doubt. Sat ev iti adi vakyena brahma sattvam parokshta giritva tattvam asi adi vakyat vyaktim sam ullikhet. The Vedic texts such as before creation Brahman alone existed of Chandogya Upanishad 6:1 give indirect knowledge of Brahman, but the text that thou art of Chandogya Upanishad 6:8-7 gives direct knowledge of Brahman.